Hey, Coach. How you doing?
Good. How are you? How's everybody doing?
Good. You ready to go?
Good. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Just got done with our Wednesday practice. I thought it was a good day. We were inside because of the weather, so got done with our stuff there, and so here we are. So we get ready to have our Thursday practice tomorrow and have a good Thanksgiving. So with that, we'll open it up.
Jeff Dickerson.
Hey man, obviously the report just came out that Nick did not practice today. What does that mean now going forward? Does this mean that he probably won't be healthy on Sunday and Mitch is the guy?
We don't know that yet. It's day to day right now with Nick, and so with him not practicing, Mitch got all the reps today, and I thought he did a good job. It was good to see him out there, and he looked good, and the tempo and the rhythm was good. But for Nick, that's going to strictly be a day to day thing right now for us, and that's where that's at.
Jason Leisure.
Matt, the way that you talked about the quarterback situation in the past indicated it was about health, but it would be about some other things too, evaluating performance. Does Nick's spot as the starter hinge just on whether he's healthy, or would you go to Mitch on performance?
I would say this. I would say, just like I was saying, when we discussed this, last week and in the last several days, is there's a lot of factors involved in it right now, and we're looking at all that. But for us, Jason, what we got to do is we have to start with the availability. That's otherwise the other stuff doesn't matter. So for us right now, the only thing that we can do is, we weren't sure at the end of this last game that we played really what our situation was going to be like with both quarterbacks. With Mitch and with Nick. And so right now for me and for us, it's literally day to day for Nick as to where he's at. And so are there other factors involved? Absolutely. I think that's a part of the bye week of us looking at everything from a bigger picture of where we're at. But for sure, it has to start with availability. And that's kind of where we're at on the day-to-day stuff with Nick.
JJ.
Matt, with Mitch and Nick, do you need to let your team know at some point who is going to start, or can you take a couple of days to evaluate Nick's health and to evaluate the whole situation and let them know, maybe 24 hours before kickoff or whatever it may be? Or do you have to let them know earlier in the week if you've already made the decision?
No, I would say this, JJ. I think that for our guys, they understand that with both. We've obviously played with both guys, and they're familiar with both guys. And I'm not so sure right now that that's where they're at. I think that they understand where both these guys are at with their injuries and their health, et cetera. So they don't really get into that too much. That's not something that they ask questions about. They just kind of roll. You know what? It's kind of similar to, in a way, it's a little bit similar to the play calling deal too. It's one of those deals where they just kind of roll whatever play is being called. That's what they're going to run. And I think it's something similar here where they just kind of go out there, they run the plays, and whoever's back there, they just play as best as they can.
Pat Finley.
Matt, you mentioned the play calling thing, and also back at the beginning of the year when you picked a starting quarterback, you were up front a couple of days before the game about what you were going to do. You didn't take it to kick off. Do you imagine that will be the case here? If you have made a decision on merit, will the world know before Sunday?
I would say that there's a possibility of that as we work through this and see where things are at and have a good feel. Then I think for us, there's at some point in time, it's good for all of us to be able to get through this and not have to worry about that. Everybody, right? Just be able to go through it and have a good feel with where we're at. So regardless of that, with where we're at, we just have to, like with Nick being day to day right now, and Mitch is feeling good and he gets out here and practices. That's what we're working with right now, So we just got to kind of see as it goes throughout the week.
Deion Miller.
Matt, you said that Mitch looked good when he was out there. If you have to go to him, from what you know of him and his personality, is he able to put like the bruised ego of being benched aside and focus on the task at hand and do what he needs to do to help this offense?
Yeah. Here's what I would say, Dion, to that is, and I really haven't had the chance, a little bit, I've said it to y'all, but one of the things that I've taken from this experience as a coach and witnessing how Mitchell has dealt with this, very, very impressed with how he's grown week to week. I mean that. This kid has literally, it wasn't easy by any means those first couple of weeks. It was hard. It was out of place for him and for us. But he kind of got to take a step back and see where he's at. And so, if he is going, what I would say is this, is I have all the confidence in the world in him. And I think that the word growth for him in being able to step back from everything as it happened, in this sport, in this world, in this life, adversity strikes. And sometimes people take that and turn that into a big time positive. And at times when you think it's the worst feeling in the world, what you're going through, sometimes those moments end up being the greatest things that ever happened to you. And I don't know if that's the case. And if he ends up starting and he's our guy and we go into this game, I don't know what that final story is going to be for this game and moving forward. But I do know that what I've seen with Mitchell and the way that he's handled the meetings, the way that he's handled practice in that role, I've seen a change in him and for the good. And I just, it's a good feeling. It comforts you, and it's exciting because you know how good of a kid he is.
Dan Wiederer,
Matt, each of the last 2 years, Mitch hasn't been great in his first game coming back from injury. You've acknowledged that he hasn't been great in his first game coming back from injury. How do you account for that throughout this week? And then how do you also increase his comfort with a new play caller and an offensive line that's entirely different than the last time he started?
Yeah, no, that's definitely, Dan, something that we've discussed. That was a part of the health questions that we talked about as we talked about Mitchell's situation, was just that, because we did feel like, and that's normal for quarterbacks to do, really a lot of players to sometimes come back a little too soon. And Mitch is a fighter. And so I don't know if that's the truth that he came back too soon the last 2 years. I think if you asked, my belief and some other people's belief is that maybe that was the case, but you can't fault him for doing that. The kid wanted to come back and play for the team. So we just had to make sure right now with where he's at, okay, we check all the boxes and say, okay, if it is him, where is he at for stuff like that, right? Can he get hit again? Is it like, how do we play the game with him? And then mentally, right? It's the same type of deal as where is he at mentally? So we've asked those questions. He feels really good. And that's the part that I like as well.
Even with the play callers and the line, is there extra things you have to do to just increase that connection?
I don't think so. I really don't. Again, I think it's, whatever the plays are, Dan, that are being called, he'll feel good with, and, he ends up being a guy or Nick ends up being a guy. These guys with the play calls, they have input throughout the week, and so they'll kind of direct in things that they like and don't like. And it's our job to kind of make sure, okay, is it too much? Is it not enough? And then we all together talk through the likes and dislikes so that there's a comfort level on game day, regardless of the quarterback or where they feel. And then in regards to the offensive line, that's kind of been going on all year. So those guys, I give Juan Castillo a lot of credit, and our players, those guys on that line, man, they're fighters, and it's been hard. It has not been easy, but they are working together and trying to figure out how are we going to make this team better by being the best alignment we can in the run and pass game. And so I don't think that Mitch or Nick really get into that a whole lot, to tell you the truth.
Colleen Kane,
Matt, when you talk about Mitch being able to take a step back and just kind of watch, what specifically do you think he gained from that?
Well, I just try to put myself in his shoes, and what I witness and when I look at him is I think that naturally when, after 3 weeks, you end up not being the starter, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on mentally. There's probably a lot of emotions that go through you. Frustration, anger, disappointment, sadness. You feel like you let people down. There's just a lot of things that go through your head. But then initially you get through that first couple weeks, and you get to kind of, almost from a coaching perspective, you get to stand back and see a lot of things that you can't see when you're in the weeds. And my belief is that Mitchell has used these weeks to make himself a better overall NFL quarterback. And I don't know, and whenever and if ever he gets that chance, when he does, but I do believe in my heart of hearts that he has grown from this situation. And I believe that he will be a better player because of it. And so it's just me being around Colleen and just the observations of how he interacts in meetings, the questions he asks. He's still leading from, behind, getting on guys, when we're not in the huddle. He's not in the huddle. On game day, his interaction, and then how he is, there's that focus, and it's a different focus. I used that word focus before with y'all, and I meant that, but I feel like there's a different focus and a different attitude, a different mindset. And for me as a coach, being able to see the significance of that, you appreciate that. I know who he is as a person. And as a player, to see growth with him is what's exciting. And so, we'll see, but that's, I'm spending time on that because there's a lot of, there's a lot of emotional attachment and you care. And when you see stories like this, it can become very interesting.
Kevin Fishbane.
Hey, Matt, with it being the Packers, not in terms of how it could impact the quarterback decision, but if it is Mitch, what does it do to your prep that, it's a defense he's familiar with? Obviously, they're familiar with him too. But how does that kind of impact game prep this week if he is the guy?
Yeah, well, for us, we have things that we like and don't like, and he's going to have things that he likes and doesn't like. And it's the same thing for Nick. That Nick has his strengths and weaknesses, and then we've been trying to really, for both of these guys, work around what they do best, and then obviously too what we do. Now, you look at your opponent, regardless of who it is in the history that you have, they are two different style quarterbacks. So, no matter who you are as a coordinator, there's some things that you have to be prepared for with one and with the other that are different. So that you'd have to ask them and where they're at. But for us, we have to be able to balance, okay, where are we at game plan wise as to what we want to do, if it's this guy or if it's that guy. And then we got to have a good, clean plan, and then we got to go full steam ahead with it.
Couple more for Coach Brad Biggs.
Hey, Matt, if Mitch does play on Sunday, how should he view the opportunity before him?
Well, I would say this, that, for him, it's a chance for him. He gets an ability, if he plays, to really go out and use what he's learned from these last however many weeks it's been where he has not been playing, to see, okay, whether it's how I watch tape throughout the week, or whether it's on game day, how I act in between series, or how I act after a play. And then big picture for him is, these are great opportunities. It's a great opportunity for him to just go out and play quarterback and play it with really an appreciation for what he lost. When something's taken away from you, how do people react? And I think for him, there's different people that might get angry and they might not have handled themselves well for the last 7-8 weeks, and now they're not prepared. I feel like it's the opposite for him. He gets a chance to play. He gets a chance to be the starter. He's going to use the stuff that he's learned from and use it to help him make better plays on game day. And so that's kind of what I feel about where he's at with this opportunity. It's a great opportunity for him if he gets a chance to play.
Last one, Adam Hogue.
Hey, Matt, is it just interesting hearing you talk about some of the growth that he may have made these last few weeks sitting out, because he didn't really get that opportunity as a rookie.
Yeah.
He just kind of got thrown in the fire very, very quickly. I guess my question is then, wouldn't it be in the organization's best interest, if that's really what's been going on, to see what you have in him these last 6 weeks before he's not under contract with the Bears anymore?
Right. Yeah. I think that it's a good point for sure. And unfortunately, it's in this profession and in a lot of sports, but at that quarterback position, there's a lot of, instant gratification, and there's not a lot of the old, the days back in the day where you get 3 years to kind of sit behind somebody, 4 years, and then you go ahead and play. And because of the different rosters and being able to make things happen on rookie contracts, it is different, but that's where we're at. And so, you know, for us and for him. I'm just a big believer in things happen for a reason. And I don't know where this is going to go this weekend either way. But like you're saying, I can't argue as well with your point either, Adam. I think that you say something like that, and it's something where we have to be able to look at all that. And again, the same with Nick too. You know, Nick is in a position for us too, where I know Nick wants to, he's fighting like heck to get healthy. And so I just want to make sure that, you know, it is such a balance and a fine line, because it's not easy, you know, but it all does go back to right now for this team, the availability and the health of these guys.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome. Take care.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you guys tomorrow.